So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law of the prophets. I remember Dave from my freshman year of college. I went away to Kansas and didn't know anybody. And on the first day of moving into the 7th floor of the dorms, Dave came down and introduced himself. He was from Ohio. He was tall and kind of goofy, but it got right along with my goofiness, and we became friends, and he was the first friend I made. Started hanging out with some of the guys down at the 3rd floor, and as the initial weeks of freshman year rolled on, those guys, they did not really like Dave. You know, Dave didn't really get the jokes, didn't laugh fast enough, was kind of clumsy and in the way, and they pressured me to stop hanging out with Dave. I never really stood up to those guys, never really stood up to tell Dave. I just told Dave that we were gonna go hang out, and we left him behind. And time after time, it happened over and over again, and the relationship faded away, and Dave knew what had happened, and I just ditched out on him in favor for those other friends. I don't know that we ever had a final conversation, just faded away. And the more I think about it now, I look back and think of how dumb I was. I wouldn't want to be treated like that. I wish I could have stood up for Dave and said, Dave, come on, you can hang out with us. Why couldn't I stand up for Dave, pointing out his good characteristics, how nice he was, how friendly he was, and supportive and kind. Instead I let the pressure of those friends get to me, and I let that friendship with Dave fade away.
The call came on a Thursday. It was my mom. I was at work, and she was calling to tell me that my dad was going to be transported to Rochester from their home in Wisconsin. And I made arrangements at work. We planned to meet her there. We thought we would be settling in for several months long of a recuperation period for him. He had had surgery and it had not gone well, and his recovery was not going as we had hoped it would go. And so we thought, like I said, that we would anticipate about 3 months of just trips to Rochester, spending time there, and as he was recovering. So I left that Thursday and headed up to Rochester. Brad had to work that night, so he was going to drive up separately on Friday morning. And as I got there on Thursday night, it became quite apparent that things were probably not going to go the way we had hoped. It was obvious that Dad had become a lot weaker, and his health was failing instead of improving. We just spent that day at my dad's bedside. By that evening, the doctor told us his kidneys had started to fail, and that the organs were going to keep shutting down. And so we stayed up with Dad throughout that Friday night. On Saturday morning, the doctor called us in, and he's like, it's a matter of minutes at this point that your dad has left to live, and you just want to be with him, and if you want to pray for him, if you just want to be with him, that's what you need to do right now. So we were all standing around his bedside, and we prayed with him and for him, and I got this sense that we were supposed to sing Jesus Loves Me. And here we were standing around the bedside with these doctors and nurses I didn't know, and my mom and my sister and Brad and I, and then some extended family that I didn't really know all that well. And I had all these excuses popping up in my head as to why I shouldn't do that. Dad's hearing aids weren't in, he wasn't going to be able to hear it anyway. It would be embarrassing, they would think I was strange. And so I had this chance to remind my dad in his last moments of God's amazing love for him by singing this simple song that most of us probably know. And I chickened out. I totally blew it. And that's something I will regret for a really long, just forever. After Dad passed away, I called my friend Susan, who was at our house staying with our dogs, and told her what had happened. We had decided that my mom and sister would come home with Brad and I before going back to Wisconsin. And she said, don't worry about a thing. I will take care of everything. Our plan was to arrive about supper time on Saturday back here in Iowa. And when I opened our front door, I could not believe what I saw. Our house had been cleaned from top to bottom. There was this awesome smell coming from the kitchen. The table was set for supper. Our beds had been made. She had made up beds for my mom and my sister. Everything was taken care of. And on the table, there was this beautiful fresh baked loaf of bread. It was just amazing. Every detail that could have possibly been taken care of, she had taken care of for us. And it was just so wonderful to be loved in that way at such a difficult time. And I tell you what, she truly treated us like she would want to be treated, and till the day I die, I will remember her gift of kindness towards us. In everything, treat others as you would want them to treat you, for this fulfills the law and the prophets.
I used to play AAU basketball back in the day. We're having so much fun with the guys on our team. You know, we'd mess around, joke around between all the games. There's just one guy on our team named Scott. Scott wasn't very good at basketball. He's pretty clumsy. He's a bit slower than everyone else. Always seemed to be falling down. He was the guy that got the butt end of every joke. You know, we picked on him a lot, and we really did not give him a chance. There's this one basketball tournament when we were in between games. We took the joking and the messing around a little too far. We started making fun of Scott, pushing him around a little bit in the hallway. You know, pushing quickly turned into kicking and hitting. And one of the guys grabbed Scott, pushed him down the end of the hallway, and pushed him into one of those entryways. While another one of the guys was yelling, "Lock him in there!" Someone barricaded the doors, while one of the guys locked the doors, as Scott stood there helplessly as I watched. Someone yelled, "Let's get out of here! Let's leave him there!" Everyone bolted away, including me. But halfway down the hallway, something stopped me. Thoughts started racing through my head. What does Scott do to deserve this? Why is he now standing there all alone, helplessly locked in that entryway as bruises on his arms and legs started to swell up? I would never want anyone to do that to me. Something kept nudging me though to turn back and let him out. So I did. I turned around and walked down that hallway and let Scott out of the entryway, all knowing that I would never hear the end of it from the rest of the guys on the team. And as I let him out, I could already feel the dirty looks and that name calling come from the other end of the hallway. I'll never forget how much I got made fun of that day for letting Scott out of the entryway. Standing up for Scott was hard. What made it tough was I was the only one doing it. And for doing so, I got made fun of a lot. Sometimes it's hard to do the right thing. Living by the golden rule doesn't mean that you're going to get a gold medal. But this is how God calls us to live, no matter how hard it gets. In everything, treat others as you would want them to treat you, for this fulfills the law and the prophets.